Hi, I'm Denny McGinn, Navy and Marine Corps, and it's really great. Thank you so much, Phyllis and your team, for doing this. It's great that Sharon is part of that team, and your absolute guiding light, Senator Warner. Thank you so much for everything you do today, to say nothing of what you've done over the course of your life. Thank you. We also ascribe in the Department of the Navy to the idea that energy is directly related to mission effectiveness and operational efficiency. We also agree that it has to be presented in, at least in operational energy terms, in metrics that are days on station or miles sailed or days between refuelings or hours or minutes between refuelings for in-flight refueling, and that really, really resonates. It's been also said that culture is such a key part of wanting to make that change in inertia that Miranda just talked about. So in our Navy, we have our Energy Warrior program, we have our Energy Ethos for our Marine Corps that is really getting down to the individual squadron or a company level that really is making a difference. We are also seeing that the progress we've made over the past 4 to 6 years, every time you have an accomplishment and people really understand how it affects them in a positive way, how it makes their mission ashore or their mission at sea or in the air that much more effective, it just builds on that cultural change. And that is very, very much in evidence across the board. So let me give you a couple of eaches that we are doing. John mentioned that we established the Renewable Energy Project Office or Program Office, REPO, in May of last year. Their goal was to get on contract 1 gigawatt or more of renewable energy, and they've been doing a marvelous job. Just about 6 weeks ago, we're in San Diego where Secretary of the Navy Ray Mabus signed an agreement with Sempra Energy in the Western Area Power Authority to buy 150 megawatts of solar energy coming out of Arizona to power 1/3 of the load of our 14 major Navy and Marine Corps installations in the state of California. We were down in Kings Bay, Georgia 2 weeks ago to do a groundbreaking on 42 megawatts. We'll be in Oceana down in Virginia. The list goes on and on. And these are all on the shore side, evidence that that concentrated expertise helping to define for the installations and importantly to execute energy goals is really, really important. To John's comment about the budget, absolutely true. There's that famous British saying that we are out of money, therefore we must think, and we are thinking a lot. And one of the best ways that we have thought as an entire department, not just Department of the Navy, is third-party financing. I cannot underestimate the power of that. We have 4 basic versions of that. They're a power purchase agreement. You build it, we'll buy the power. That's the 150 megawatts for our California installations. There's enhanced use leases. We've got the land. Why don't you come build a solar farm or wind farm on it, and you can export it to whoever you want in your service territory, but give us some in-kind considerations so that when the grid goes down, we get first right of refusal and put in a electrical distribution system that allows us to take that power on that enhanced use lease land and use it to increase our energy resiliency. A third area is energy services savings, or ESPCs, energy savings performance contracts. This is where you ask a contractor to come in, take a look at our installation, and see what you can do in the way of energy savings so that we will share the results of those savings to pay you back our mortgage, if you will, because you're going to upfront with third-party financing this project. And oh, by the way, we'll get the benefit of that increased redundancy, resiliency, and the savings that go with it. And then finally, a version, if you will, a little bit broader of energy savings performance contract, utility energy services contracts that we are using with all of our major suppliers, our investor-owned utilities, rural electric co-ops across the board, public service commissions. We are working with them to make sure that we're taking advantage of a low cost of finance, increasingly lower cost for project technology and operations, and, oh, by the way, a national policy called investment tax credit that expires at the end of the year next year, so that we can get as much steel in the ground as possible before the expiration of that. So it's almost a perfect storm of factors that come together that make third-party financing a really, really attractive way for us to meet our energy goals for our shore establishment. On the operational side, it was mentioned before, the Great Green Fleet by Sharon. We tested it in 2012 as part of the Rim of the Pacific exercise in the Hawaiian operating areas back in 2012. Well, 2016 begins in 2 days, and Happy New Year, by the way, and I hope it's a Happy New Year. And we will be launching a whole series of energy conservation measures, the introduction of bio-based fuels into our ships, and seeing the results of our culture change that really values energy in the same way that we valued ammunition for decades, literally for centuries. The Great Green Fleet will demonstrate around the world areas that we have really made some great technology strides, and importantly, regardless of what the technology is, how we are using the technology in the most efficient way to be able to add those days between refuelings, or that range for a Marine Expeditionary Battalion ashore. So those are the highlights, if you will, of what we're doing. Finally, I'll say that we talk a lot in this business collectively across the nation, public and private entities, about technology. We start solar, wind, microgrids, all of the things that go along with them, and that's a good start. But importantly, if you get the technology right and you get the culture right to change that inertia that Miranda mentioned, and you develop partnerships. Partnerships across the government, certainly. We work very closely with our fellow services. Across the federal government, departments and agencies, USDA for biofuels, or the Department of Energy for just about everything. And importantly, with states, our efforts in the state of California, for example, or state of Connecticut, or Virginia, Florida, all start because we stay very, very close to what their goals are, what their aspirations are, and we try to line ours up with them, and it really, really produces results. And probably the most important partnership is the public-private partnership. The partnerships that bring third-party finance projects to a successful conclusion, the partnerships that bring knowledge from the private sector into the public, so that we don't simply say, well, we'll write you a request for proposal and you better get it right, and if you do, we'll award you a contract. Well, that's the formal Federal Acquisition Regulation way of going about it, and we certainly comply. But importantly, we, in our partnership consultations with the private sector, are very, very interested in what are you doing for an industrial complex, a municipality, a college or university campus. We want to know what you do every day in your space in the energy sector, so that we can get your good ideas and incorporate it into our way of thinking. Because if you pretend that we know what we're doing down to the optimum level, it's a wrong assumption. We want to make sure that you tell us how we can benefit from the knowledge that you have. So partnerships across the board in government, and that critical partnership with the private sector. Look forward to any comments or questions you may have. Thank you.